Hello. Hey
Hey,
guys. Welcome back to JA Millionaire. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jasmine and this is Angelica. We are two ambitious Latina women sharing our journey from humble beginnings to millionaires. We talk about overcoming challenges, building an elite mindset, and our goal is to hopefully inspire other women from underprivileged backgrounds like us to pursue their dreams. All right. Well, welcome back. I'm so excited to be here, Angelica. Oh my gosh. So before we jump into our topics, what's been going on? What's going on in your world?
life. Life has
Life,
been
life be
lifing.
lifing.
Yeah, it's lifing. I'm being a senora, like keeping on. I'm really just been, I've really been occupied. I've been trying to keep my mental sanity going, keeping up with the skincare, keeping up with my workout routine, keeping up with ballet and everything else that
Self-care.
comes with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh man, girl, between my between my part-time job and me networking with clients and I have the podcast, I'm still working on the e-commerce. Like I feel like I have no days off, but I remind myself every day like this is what I chose, this is what I wanted. I already know what the other path looks like and I don't want to go down there. So just chipping away at this one. I did sell my car last month and a part of it feels like, God, what a huge weight is lifted. I'm like, I'm so glad I don't owe anything, just free and clear. It's done. I have been utilizing Ubers, and that's totally fine. Like it's been great. I just keep telling myself that, like I live a luxurious life. My
You
groceries come to
do.
me, my drivers come to me. Like,
Yeah. On
yeah,
top
so
of that, it's like hiking and you're just taking off this extra baggage that you just didn't need. Not that you're not going to change your timing and your speed to get to where you want to go.
yeah.
It's just like like you're going to go faster, you know?
Like when I think about like all of these steps that I have taken, all of the sacrifices I have taken, this is gonna be one heck of an origin story. When years down the road, when I am living in my big mansion, driving my Bentley and wearing my beautiful, Armani suit or Chanel suit, I'm gonna be like, man, remember when I was like literally trying to figure out how I was gonna pay the rent, keep the lights on? I sold my Mercedes. I was literally on foot. Like, remember when I
Jeez.
had $1 in a
It's gonna
dream?
be, I know, but you're gonna look back at it and be like, gosh, it was so worth it, and you're gonna be able to face things differently, headstrong on. Like, I think even me, I had like such a terrible childhood, and now when things come up, I'm like, gosh, like I already feel like um God, I can't say God, Hashem already gave me everything that I was supposed to deal with when I was a kid because now I'm just like kicking my feet up sometimes and I'm like, I deserve this peaceful life.
Oh, that's so beautiful that you know that and see that. And a lot of people don't recognize that until like they've gone through therapy or something to realize it. Because otherwise, it's almost like the message they got from childhood was, I'm not good enough. Because see, like I didn't get all these things and all this crap happened to me, so I must not be good enough. And they carry that into adulthood. But I love that you realized, they're like, oh no, like that was not meant for me. That was not supposed to be my life. This is supposed to be my life, and I am worthy of all of this. Right.
Exactly. And you have to have that mindset, like even being in just normal social circles. Like I don't try to let those things be in the back of my mind like, oh, you were this, you were that, versus like, no, it's the present. I already did that. I kind of already went to the war. Now I'm just like in my veteran area.
Oh, I
Era,
love
sorry,
that.
era.
Yeah, no, I love that. You're like, I already went to war.
Yeah, I'll go back, but
You're like, I'm a
I'm not
retired
fighting.
warrior, okay? I'm a
Yeah.
retired warrior. Well, that's actually a perfect segue because the two topics we wanted to cover today, the first one is breaking the poverty mindset, and the second one is going to be the power of saying no. So, starting with breaking the poverty mindset, I wanted Angelica and I to kind of talk about, like what was our relationship with money when we were younger versus now. And we'll start with you, Angelica, since you kind of started it. Like, what was your relationship? Like, what were you taught as a child? Like that, what was money to you and what was your relationship with it?
I would say. growing up, on food stamps, EBT, slash drug money, it was very like didn't understand how to respect money whenever we were making so much as a child and counting trash bags of hundreds with my father. I didn't understand the concept of money, yet we were wealthy at one point, and whenever it was all taken away and we did go live on food stamps and EBT with other family members, we were getting our things from Ross or garage sales or thrift stores, or people would donate their clothes or pass them on to us. And so I think I wouldn't take it back at all. Like I learned how it was to have it, and it wasn't the real like authentic legal way to make it. And then I learned the really poor part, like pinching by. And I think when I was younger, $20 was $100 then, and when you did, you had to stretch it. And I feel like whenever I was younger, I was scared of money. I don't think I had a relationship with money. I was more scared of it because I knew that there were two sides of a coin, two sides of a bill. So like whenever I was working, all I would do is spend my money on shampoo and buy my sister's school clothes or school shoes. Like I knew that money wasn't going to just come from a tree. Like I knew that I had to put that money to somewhere else. And so now that I am an adult, I feel like with money, I don't prioritize it or overthink it like I used to. And I could say that because I am in a unique position. My husband is a great provider, but I feel like now that I'm older, things that we use money for are to buy tools to help us advance in life, whether it be dishes, whether it be a car. I used to be so, hung up on like, oh, I scratched my rim on my tire, it's the end of the world, versus my husband being like, hey, it's $200, it's a tool. Like this is not your life. You're not going to bleed because you hit your tire. It's a tool. You're going to use it. It's going to get dirty. It's going to get scratched. And then my mindset started to change because that's right. Like, I I believe that money is here for tools to help us progress. And I feel like I respect money now and I see it differently. That's why it's a little harder for me to be on social media because I see the younger generation, Gucci, Louis, Prada, and they're all driving these flashy, fancy things. And I'm like, you're 23 years old. When I was 23 years old, I was living in a shoebox, driving like a Chevy Cruze 2002. You know what I mean? This whole generation's like A to Z. And I'm like, you guys have not been through everything that you needed to go through to be living that life at 23. And I think it's just the social media just hyping it up.
Yeah,
What about you?
accelerating everything so fast. Well, before we shift to me, like, how did you shift your mindset? Because I know you shifted your mindset before you even met your husband, because otherwise you guys wouldn't have gravitated towards one another. So, at what point in your life did you realize you made that shift? And like, what were the indicators? Like, what did you do? Like, how did you know? Like, what did you do differently in your mindset versus your siblings or your family or your friends? Like, you obviously did something different because you got a different outcome.
Right. Honestly, it was maybe my junior year of college. Like, I moved in with someone and we were doing 50-50, and it was great for a little while, but I also feel like I knew that I was advancing in my leasing, assistant manager, property management career. Like I was, getting promoted and I was getting older and I was going through school. And I feel like it was a lot different for me because I was even outgrowing my partner at the time. Because I was like, hey, I want to go to Hotel Zaza for brunch. I want to have tea there. I want to take my laptop and see what I can do externally to get more money. Or what could I do to progress, whether it's studying, things like that.
What made you want to go to those locations? Because most people with like our backgrounds would be very intimidated or feel like, I don't belong there. Like, what made you so comfortable to go there or want
That's a
to
good
go there?
question.
Yeah.
I think whenever I was 23, I think a lot of people saw a difference in me than what I did. And my husband tells me all the time that I have like this certain gift that maybe I am a lot more than I really am. Like, he tells me that I probably already look like Melania Trump. We were talking about her earlier. Um, like she just has a certain aura. And so I think I knew that about me as when I was in my early 20s. And I wasn't afraid to step out of my comfort zone because, you have to understand, like, whenever I was a leasing agent, I was meeting people every other hour, showing them an apartment, finding out what they did. So I was getting more comfortable with my job and getting more comfortable with society, integrating with that. So I would, listen to the owners talk and they would be on lunch and they would be like, "Hey, I'll meet you at the Four Seasons." And I was always like, what are they doing at the Four Seasons? You know what I mean? Like, why are they even going there? And I knew that when they did go, because we were brought on some of these meetings, that we were there until 3 and they would end their day. Like, they didn't go out past 10 p.m. And that's what I learned too growing up. Like, nothing good ever happens after 11 p.m. No wealthy, regular, normal person is going to be out with their Patek Philippe watch, stepping out of the car at 11 because why? They're going to get robbed. Something's going to happen. It's just like I learned a lot being around money that I got comfortable. And so whenever I was on the weekend, even though I was a leasing agent, like it was my weekend, I'd just go to those spots to get more comfortable. Like I knew that life was going to be for me at some point.
So what do you do like now? Like what are some practical daily habits that you do every day that, maybe somebody else could put into practice that helps you sustain that mindset of like we're not, not poverty, but like abundance.
Sure. I would say I, wake up, thank Hashem every day for the air, the water that we have. It could be much, much worse. So there's that. I turn on my playlist. I have several playlists on categories with different pictures. One's all about me, one's like cleaning, one's working out, one's called specifically called Head High. And so Head High is like when I put on a music and I'm envisioning my future. And so I put on my headphones and start the day, or I'll put it on my iPad loud while I'm cooking and cleaning. And music, I would say, would be like the number one propeller for me to stay gravitated towards my goals. And the night before, I'm always working out. I make sure I get my sweat in. I make sure every day I'm happy with how I look physically on the external part. Like I'm satisfied with how I look, how I feel. I do 4 to 6 miles a day on the Peloton, and then I go and do my weights. So I feel like that is very essential to living a very peaceful, calm, abundance lifestyle. Like if you
Yeah.
look at all the top 1%, they're all fit, and I think that's super important because if I'm ever caught in a position where, God forbid, I'm in the train and someone stabs me, at least I'll be strong enough to hold that, because I do all these sit ups and push ups and that I'm able to sustain that, like breathing and controlling it. Versus if I lived an unhealthy lifestyle and I was eating like crap and I was not working out, I would die in like the first 8 minutes versus living for an extra 15 because I put myself in a better position to be stronger physically.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, that's a great thing to keep in mind. It's like you're not just doing it for the mindset, but you're also doing it for like I need to be fit for life, like for whatever life throws at me.
I know, especially growing up, dodging bullets and things like that. I want to be able to like bend over, get up. Like you got to stay ready so you don't have to constantly get ready. So I feel like that is the number one essential thing for me is being physically fit.
Yeah. Well, for me, growing up, like my relationship with money was like that we never had enough. Like that was the message that I constantly
Yeah.
got was like, we can't afford that, we can't do that. And it was like if we even got something like McDonald's, it was like a treat. That was not something we could afford. I got clothes from like the Goodwill. If my mom bought new clothes, it would be maybe Walmart. But yeah, like the normal, like when people do the whole back to school, like I knew that that stressed my mother out. Like we would not get a whole wardrobe. We would get a maybe a jean, maybe a shirt or two, and like yeah, it was rough.
It
So
was three
I
of you, right?
there was four of us.
Four.
So I'm the oldest of five, but one of my siblings passed away when he was 5 years old of brain cancer. And then we have the three others, the three younger ones. But yeah, this was kind of like the message I constantly got was like, we can't afford that. We don't have enough money for that. And then if I wanted something that was expensive, like the message I got was like, why do you even want that? Like what, like we can't afford that. So why would you even want it? So it
Why
was
would you even
almost
say it
like,
out loud?
yeah, it was almost like my family had
Punished.
accepted that, like, if you can't afford it, why even desire it? Like, just let it go. You just keep your mind on the things you can afford. And I remember I started noticing I shifted my mindset on my own at a very young age, and my mom was noticing it too. Around seventh grade, eighth grade, I started noticing that I was like, I could see the people who had the things I wanted, and I was like, well, what are they doing that I'm not doing? I never had the feeling that I wasn't good enough. I had the feeling was like, well, maybe I'm just not doing what they're doing. I didn't think about, like, my little naive brain didn't think about, like, oh, they just have, wealthier parents, or they just have, no, I was like, well, what are they doing that I'm not doing? So I just mimicked them. I learned to walk, talk, act like them. I'm like, what are the successful people doing? And I accidentally just started taking honors classes and started getting in the right circles. And then I just kept mimicking them. That's all I did. And that's honestly a skill set that I had learned, like, to use all the way through high school, college, and even in my career. I'm like, who are the successful people? Just emulate them. Walk, talk, act like them, dress like them, and it was like the directions are
Hobbies.
already out there. Yeah, just copy them. The success playbook is already out there. So I started doing that in seventh grade, and then I started noticing, like, I would rather, my mom called it stubborn, but I would rather go with nothing than to have five cheap things. I would rather save up my money and have one expensive thing. And that was my constant mindset. Like, I remember I wanted like a $50 pair of pants, and my mom's like, I could buy you five pairs of pants for that, or I could buy you 10 pairs of pants. I was like, I want this pair of pants. And I will spend like all my babysitting money on that. And
Oh,
so, like, I've always had this minimalistic mindset as well, of like, I don't want a lot of things. I just want what I do have to be quality. So if that means I have to wait longer or I have to go without, I'm fine. I'm stubborn enough to do that. And it's
wow, it's like a
obviously
survival
something you're
skill.
seeing even now in my life right now. Like, I'm going without a lot of luxuries. And if you're seeing this snapshot right now, you're like, wow, Jasmine, you're living like a poor person. But in my head, I'm like, no, I'm preparing. This is the foundation for the millionaire.
You're
I'm
doing what you
building the
did.
skyscraper right now. I'm building the foundation for the skyscraper, which means I
Yeah.
had to gut out the old house, throw everything out, and this is all the new foundation.
Which is
But
what you're repeating to wait for the quality lifestyle. Something you learned
exactly.
when you were in seventh grade ended
And
up
it's
helping you.
exactly. And this is something I constantly repeat. I'm like, well, when it's time to, build big, you got to throw out the old and start again in the new. And so that's kind of like when I started noticing the shift. And then what practical habits do I do? So my thing that I have done, especially as I've gone on this entrepreneur journey, has been, I get up every morning, and the first thing that I do in the morning is visual meditation, anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. And I've gotten good. It takes practice. It really does, because your brain wants to think about all these random things, something somebody said to you yesterday, the task you have to do today, and you cannot focus on the task at hand, which is visualizing your dream life. And so I've gotten better at going like, okay, get back on track. What are we here for? What are we focusing on? And I just envision, the money coming into my bank account, attracting the dream clients, money passively coming into my bank account, me enjoying everything that I'm doing, that it doesn't even feel like work, traveling to exotic places, walking into my dream home and smelling the roses, and walking up into my dream husband's arms and giving him a hug, and what his shirt feels like and what it smells like, and like just trying to take myself, so like immerse myself in the experience, that I feel like I already was there. And
Oh, that's
and then
beautiful.
I set that tone in my head, and then when I go for the rest of my day, I'm putting it through that filter. I'm like, doing this action, does it align with that version of Jasmine? Doing this, does that align with that version of Jasmine? Doing this, does that align with that version of Jasmine? I just have that filter all day long.
Mm.
And I'm like, does this help get Jasmine closer to that version, or is it going to put her back to the old version? And so that really helps discipline my brain. And the other thing that I do is, when I do catch myself having any kind of negative thought, like, Oh my gosh, there's going to be a gap in my finances. Oh my gosh, if I keep this up, my money's going to run out at this X amount of time. Or what if this doesn't work out? Then I try to catch myself. And I love the way I heard this speaker talk about, like, people ask, like, well, how do you stop the bad thoughts? Like, how do you stop them? He said the same way that if you were having an argument with somebody and somebody knocked on the door, all of a sudden you would act straight, right? Like, your face would correct, your voice would correct because you got to go answer the door. You
Fix your
stop yourself
face.
the same way. What?
Fix
Fix your
your face.
face.
All the trauma.
Exactly. So, like, and I was like, you know what? That's so true. We are choosing to spiral into that negative, or you can just say, hey, stop, stop. What do we really want to focus on? Because what we focus on grows in energy and focus. And so there's times where I'm at my my little job, my little part-time job, and I can feel myself spiraling because I can see it from a negative light. And then I'm like, you know what, Jasmine? This is part of your entrepreneur route. This is part of your origin story. And you don't know who you're going to run into today. You don't know if you're going to make a fat sale today. Like, look at all the opportunity that lies today. Just trying to catch and think, what are the things that are going to serve me? Those positive thoughts are going to put me into a positive mood. And then I'm going to have the right conversation with the right tone, with the right person in front of me. So catching negative thoughts and being intentional, like catch it, stop it, and let's focus on something that is going to bring me closer to my goals.
And I think that stems from childhood, like same like what we said, like our relationship with money and things like that. It's very hard because till this day, Mom, I love you. If you ever see this, I love you. But she's negative. Like she'll be like, "Oh, there's miles on my car and I got to get this, and I'm like, "Mom, chill. Chill. You're working. This is a tool. It's supposed to get mileage." Like, and I think that just stems from that poverty mindset. Is like the first thing that's comfortable for them is to run to the nearest problem because it
Yes,
maybe makes them feel safe.
it's a survival skill. No, it
Right.
totally is. And we're naturally wired that way. So it takes a lot more work to try to rewire that. It really does. That's why I have to constantly, like, my brain will still do it. Like, I'm like, no, over here. No, over here. But if
Yeah,
you don't know to do that, you're going to constantly default to the negative because you think that that's going to keep you safe, which
I agree.
totally makes sense when you're walking around. Like, let's say you're walking into the forest and your brain is looking for the snake and your brain is looking for the coyote. You're that makes sense. You're looking for the danger. But in your everyday
Instead of
life,
enjoying the present, like look
yeah,
at this beauty that God created for us. Look, I could eat this mango. It's fresh.
yes,
Just things like that.
exactly.
I think that's the hardest thing about like growing up how we did and being the only person to be the different one and make those changes and strides that it's very hard for us to even keep that momentum because we're
Oh,
like reverting
absolutely.
back.
Absolutely. And you also doubt yourself. You're like, how am I the only one? So is something wrong with me? Like, why am I so weird from this family? Like, just stuff like that. You're like, why do I think so differently? Something's wrong with me. Something must be
Yeah,
wrong with me.
I agree.
And then the
It's hard.
last the last one, very similar to you, is dressing like the version of myself that I want to be. So, like, every day when I get ready for work or whatever, I think of myself, like, even though I'm getting ready to do my part-time job, I am dressing very elegant for work. I'm making sure to put on my scarves and I'm making sure I'm wearing something conservative and I'm wearing something flowy. I'm like, I'm going to dress like that wealthy woman right now. Like, when I'm at work, you're going to confuse me for the owner.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So that's what I think
Wow.
about is like, and people don't realize, like, there's so many organizations, even one that I volunteered for called Dress for Success. Like, they understand the power of a good outfit to help you feel confident in your skin. And when you feel confident and you feel good, you perform good and you perform well. So it's so important. Like, I know a lot of us have gotten lazy of, like, I don't want to do my hair, I don't want to do my makeup, let's, just do our yoga pants. But think about when you go out into the world in your yoga pants versus you took the time to do your hair, makeup, wear your heels, wow, you show up different.
I
You've
agree.
got a like an air to you that just feels different, and
It
people
does.
feel it,
You
they're
even
like,
sit
"Who's
up
that
straight.
lady?"
Right. Even your posture's different for the rest of the day because
Yes.
you're like,
Oh
I'm
my
stepping
gosh.
out, and I think that's the most crucial part. I love that you brought that up. Like, it's essential, to do that. And I think a lot of that, I always say it, and it's probably, sounds so repetitive, but a lot of people probably struggle with that because they don't know who they are. Like I have friends that ask me for advice. Hey, do you think this outfit looks good? A lot of it, they're still figuring out who they are also. You know what I mean? Not that they don't know. I don't want to make it sound insensitive, but
Yeah.
a lot of that is putting in the work and, trying out your different styles. What aligns with your personality? How do you have to dress how you feel,
Right. And but also like to
or how
add
you
to
want to
that
feel.
is who do you want to be? And how does that version of you dress and show up in the world? And I know right now, today, if you're like in the middle of that transition, you're like, but if I wear those clothes, that doesn't feel like me. That feels weird. I feel weird. Okay. Yeah, it's going to feel foreign, but the more and more you expose yourself to it, you wear those clothes, you do your hair that way, you wear those shoes, before you know it, you become that woman. And it just comes through practice, just doing it over and over. And then before you know it, you're not faking it anymore. You are that woman. And I can attest to that because I felt like a total fraud, especially when I started my career wearing the slacks, wearing the suits, wearing the heels, trying to hold my posture like I knew what the heck I was doing. And and then eventually I was like, "Oh, I'm not faking it anymore. I am competent.
I'm the real deal.
I am confident. I can deliver results." The confidence was backed up now by competence. And so like you have to be able to step into that discomfort and then eventually through practice it becomes who you are. So fake it till you make it, baby.
No, you do. You really do. There's a picture behind me,
Mm,
and it's my husband's, but we're not done setting this little
yeah.
office up, but it says American Express, and we already have our card, but it's just nice to have that, like, even if you already have it, don't stop it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Don't stop dreaming,
Yes, yes,
you know,
exactly.
just things like that. And I can attest to that. That is definitely something that, you know, is important to your everyday routine. Make sure you look good, you feel good.
Yes. And you perform good. And when you perform good, you make money. And I don't care what anybody says, how you look will determine your wealth as well. Listen to any other motivational speaker. Like that's the reason they have to work out. That's the reason they make sure that they invest into their clothes, their appearance, their grooming, because you only get one shot at a first impression. And I don't care. Like I know we don't like to hear it, but you're going to be judged in the first 5 seconds somebody sees you. And what do you
Yeah,
want that impression to be? And especially if you want to earn respect, what do you want that impression to be?
I agree with you. Listening to your words, I also feel like, being a big sister, I try not to constantly give advice because I don't want to just sound like a
Nag.
broken, what is it, record or whatever.
A broken record.
No. But I feel like this resonates with what you're saying, but she was sharing something with me that she was sharing with someone that I'm like, has a complete opposite lifestyle and it's not even headed towards the direction of where she's going. So I kind of got onto her and I'm like, you can't share intimate details about your intimate life, if they don't have an intimate life. You know what I mean? Like, is that someone you want to trade places with? That's the first impression kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm very, very picky with who I share certain information to because my life is intimate. I love my life. I love me. So like sharing those details with some people, I make sure that like they have an intimate life too. So you know what I mean? So there's something to gain for both of us here. Like, you know what I mean? It's not one-sided. We're pouring
Yes.
value into each other.
Yes, exactly. And that kind of goes into the next topic. We were going to talk about the power of no and talking about like the importance of boundaries. And because this is also important when it comes to our money, is having these kind of boundaries, our money, our mindset, our energy, all of the above. So, I kind of wanted to touch on this because I know you were reading a book called, what was it called?
When I say no, I feel guilty.
I would love for you to talk about like the biggest takeaways you got from this book and like why is it so important to be able to have boundaries and be able to say no, you know?
I agree. I mean, thank you for bringing that up. I feel like I already hold myself to a high regard. Like, I'm naturally driven. I'm naturally looking for the next accomplishment, the next challenge that I can do. And I think that is so vital when you are thinking of telling someone no. And I feel like a lot of people don't tell a lot of people no because maybe they don't feel sure in themselves, or maybe they haven't worked to what they want to be yet, and that can be difficult sometimes when you are telling someone no. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's important to get to where you want to be physically, mentally, educational wise. I think it's important, even because I feel like when you are talking to someone and they're like, "Hey, can you do me a favor?" blah blah blah, you need to have enough ganas and dignity to be like, "No, I can't do it." You know what I mean? But if you're not doing everything behind that to back it up, you're not going to have that authority in your voice to say no. But because you've already done A through Z, you're going to have that, hey, no. You know what I mean? You have to do all that work because when you do, you respect yourself, you hold yourself to a higher regard versus someone that is just so content not working out. If someone of like that tells me no, I'm like, oh well, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna take it serious. You know what I mean? So make sure what I taken from that book is like, be on your A game. So when you're ready to have that conversation to say no, you can, and you have the whole confidence to do so. Like, you're not even shaking or thinking to say no. Like, it's just no, it's no, and it's no. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot. I took away a lot from that book too, because I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I have to do laundry that day, or I have to pick my child up before they even get around to saying no. The person will respect you more if you're not telling them what you have to do before you say no, because you're just already looking weak to say
Yeah.
that. You know what I
Yeah, you're
mean?
just
Like,
giving a bunch of excuses. Just say, can
you
you
just
do it
say
or not
no.
do it? Yeah.
Right. And I feel like you cut to the chase like that, and then whoever is supposed to be a part of your life will fall into that, and whoever doesn't respect that or understand that, then they're going to end up figuring it out on their own. So my biggest takeaway from that was being confident within myself and respecting myself and doing all of the work that I did do. I do my therapy every week still. I think those are vital steps to have that emotion to say no. You know what I mean? Versus like if I was working at McDonald's and I wasn't working out and I wasn't married, like it would be a different. I would be the one that's like, no, I need to go to the dry cleaning, I need to go grocery shopping, and then I'm gonna say no. You know what I mean? You see the difference there is like I put in the work and I respect myself and I have the authority to say that. And I think a lot of that from that book that I took away was having the ability to have the authority to say it, working to gain that, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Like going back to like even like the money thing. Um, I know a topic that a lot of people struggle with is like, what if somebody like asks me for money, or what if like, I'm being pressured to give money that I don't have, and like, how do I say no? Like, I don't want them to be upset. I don't want them to be hurt. I don't want them to think I'm self. So again, you're going down the wrong train of thought. So there's nothing wrong with giving money or donating money or giving money as a gift. There's nothing wrong with these things. But just like emotions, if you don't have the capacity to give, then you're now giving from you're emptying your cup. When it comes to money or emotions, you should be giving out of an overflowing cup. So let's say I am doing so well financially. My bills are paid, I've got extra, and somebody, needs help, or somebody said, "Hey, let's go chip in on this gift." Yeah, please. Like that's coming out of my excess. That's not a problem. But if I am barely making it paycheck to paycheck, then I have to be able to say strong enough, like, right now is not the time. I don't, like, right now is just not good for me. I can't do it right now. Um, but it's also in your delivery, because you don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to give a million excuses because they're not entitled to know all of those intimate details, depending on who it is. But you can, there's a way to soften the blow and say, like, I would love to, but at this time in my life, I just don't have the capacity to do that. But maybe next time. you know?
I agree.
Something like that. Like it's in the delivery. It's you don't have to
Can
take
I
it
add?
offensively or threatening, you know.
I want to add something to that.
Mhm.
I talk to my husband about that all the time. You know, we see homeless people a lot in the streets in the city, you know, or being at nice restaurants, we always tip our 20%. And I know that there are some people that were like, oh, wow, that was a really good server. Let me give them $100. Well, my husband always says to me, Angelica, if we give these people money and we continue to give them money, they're never going to find a way out. And the goal is to get out of that, to not be homeless, to not be a server for the rest of your life, you know? So he also always tells me, like, make sure when you are giving, you're giving to someone that's on that path to get out of what situation they're already in, if that helps. But if not, you're just being even more selfish by helping them because you're enabling them to stay there.
Yeah. I mean that is one perspective. I'm I have a challenge respectfully. Let's have a fun little challenge with this. Um, I've also heard it said because I think that too. So I'm thinking with my lens on how this person should live, how this person should do things. But I've also somebody had said this to me. It is not up to me to decide how this person should live. So, yes, like when it comes to giving a tip or giving a donation, or in essence, we are giving it to God. We're giving it to the universe. We're giving it to a higher power. Now, what that person does with it, that's between them and God. That's between them and the universe. I did
Oh, I
my
like it.
part. I gave. It is not for me to control their lives or set any like so it's just a different perspective. To me, it's more freeing because then it's holding me accountable for me and my goals and my, my universe. Like I am supposed to give. I am supposed to be giving, obviously, when I have more than enough. Um, I've noticed, like, even when it came to like my siblings, if I try to put too many stipulations on them or try to tell them, hey, this is how you should live, I ended up pushing them away. And so I decided to turn that around and say, okay, this is how I'm going to live, guys. And let me just share with you guys how I'm going to live and what I'm going to do. And you don't have to do it. You could, whatever life you choose, and that makes you happy. All I care is that you're happy. And I realize not everybody is cut for this same life. It is hard. And I don't blame somebody for choosing a much more simpler life. If that makes you happy, please follow your bliss because unfortunately my appetite was so big that if I stayed at like a smaller life, I would not be happy. So,
I agree.
to each their own, to each their own. If you find your happiness in that lifestyle, good for you. But if you want input and you want to improve your life, you truly are unhappy, you're complaining, you want a better life, well, then yes, I'm here to give you any kind of advice, guidance, whatever. But um, I realized I get them closer when I don't tell them, hey, this is how you should live. But I can say, hey, this is what worked for me.
I agree. And
Yeah.
I think it's very hard on us to be in that position, to be the oldest in our family. I think that's the hardest. I always say it's the worst curse you could be in is like being the oldest sibling because you want to be their best friend, but you also don't want them to fail.
Yeah.
And
And the
that's the
expect
hardest part.
and the expectations of us are higher from everybody. Mom, dad, aunts, uncles, and the siblings. Like we have to be perfection. We like the expectation of us is so hard. Like I know when I was younger, I felt like I was never allowed to be a kid. It was like you have younger siblings to look out for. You have to be the example. You have to be this, you have to be that. And that was hard for me. It was like I always had to act like eyes were on me because they were. There was little
That's
eyes
how,
on me at all times.
same.
Yeah.
What you do, they're going to do. And it was a lot
Yes.
of pressure, especially when it came to high school. And it was like you wanted to go to the parties, but you couldn't.
That's why I did all my dirt like behind people's back. No, I'm like the stuff I've did, I'll take it to the grave. You guys will never know.
Same. Yeah. There's things that we won't have to discuss. I know I've taken because I got to be a better example. And not
Yes.
only that, like if I tell them everything I did, they're not going to trust their children later. Like they're
Yes.
going to be like, "I know what you're up to." And I think that everybody deserves a fair shot. of messing up.
Exactly.
Because you're
Exactly.
going to learn from it. I mean, these days it's going to be harder for my nieces to get away with things because now you have the share location thing. But
Hmm.
I think life's an experience and you don't know when your last day is going to be, and I think it's important to celebrate every day, whether it's enjoying a cappuccino, whether it's enjoying a glass of wine, it's vital.
I think this was such a great topic to cover. Do you have any final thoughts or anything to leave the audience with?
No, I think that we've talked about these topics before, and if you guys have any other questions or if you feel like you want to hear a different side or two different perspectives, I think it's important to engage with us so that way we can do our best to help you.
Yes, and please, like, we are both very educated women. We can respectfully have different opinions. Like you saw today, we have different opinions, and that's okay. That's beautiful. We need to be able to show people other sides. And if you have a differing opinion, please comment, say it on there, educate us. We want to learn, what's another way that you guys are thinking and seeing the world. The more we know, the more we help one another. And your comment may even help somebody else who saw it in the comments. So again, just letting it, paying it forward and making sure we're helping all of every woman. So on that note, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll never miss an episode. New episodes drop every other week, and we want to hear from you. So let us know in the comments what topics you'd love for us to cover next. Until next time, keep chasing your dreams and making them a reality.
Bye, guys.